What's going on, guys? I'm gonna be showing you guys what I'm working with here. This is my little computer. This is just my gaming rig, nothing special really. But the interesting thing that I wanted to show you guys is the mod that I made on this graphics card here. This out of the box does not come water cooled, but I got a little creative here and I went ahead and made some modifications to it. So today I'm going to be showing you guys how you can do this with the Kraken G12 and a Corsair H55 all-in-one water cooler. So stay tuned. Alright, so without the glass in the way, this is what the card looks like installed in the system. Now, you wouldn't be able to tell that there's any modifications made or anything like that just by looking at the card from this angle here. Or even if you try to get a little sneaky and try to go underneath, there's nothing really visible. There's nothing that shows there's been some changes there to the plate or to the brackets that hold the plate in place. So let's go ahead and take this puppy out, and I will show you what I did here, and maybe if some of you are interested in doing the same thing with your RTX series graphics cards, you can. And the reason why I'm going to show you this, and the reason why I did this in the first place, is because the RTX graphics cards, or I should say the Kraken G12 by NZXT, does not yet provide compatibility with the RTX series graphics cards, meaning that it doesn't come with the right kit, so you can mount this plate for water cooling your graphics card. Not yet, at least. But if you have one, or if you want to buy one, you can still do this. So like I said, let's go ahead and take this out, and I'm going to show you exactly what I did. Now let's take a look at the GTX cooler and the RTX cooler. This is the RTX cooler that I got with my 2070, my Zotac 2070 graphics card. And the one above, I believe that is for a, what was that, a 680 graphics card, GTX 680. Now, as you can see here, vertically, you have a gap between the holes there for the coolers. You have a gap of 6 centimeters. And it's the same with the GTX graphics card configuration. That's a 6 centimeter gap when you go vertically, but when you go horizontally, the gap is actually different. Now you got a wider gap here. Horizontally, you have a gap of, what is that, 7.5 centimeters on the RTX graphics cards, or this cooler here at least. And on the GTX coolers that I have seen generally, it's just over 5 3/4 of a gap that you have there horizontally. So it's quite a difference. It's quite a difference between the two architectures also. And the reason for this is because the Touring die is actually bigger than the Pascal. So a bigger die requires a bigger cooler. So for that reason, you see the difference. There's the difference between the two coolers, and the gaps in the holes there. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and take this thing out, and I'll show you exactly what I did here. Alright, so here's the card, and like I said, there is no visual differences between the mod that I did here and the actual holes that you find on the plate. You can't see that. You can't see the difference. You would think that it's actually out of a factory made configuration there, because the big screws holding the plate attached to the pump, that plate, those big screws are actually hiding the drilled holes that I made there. They're not the best holes I ever drilled through metal, but you know what? They get the job done. They make the screws go right through, and that way I'm able to hold that plate in place so that the pump doesn't fall out. And yeah, so as you can see, that's what I've done there. Not the cleanest job, but I'm sure perhaps some of you out there have a better way of drilling, you know, those holes there. But this is the best that I could with what I had at hand, and it works perfectly fine. It does just fine. Now the reason why I had to cut also through the on the left side there of the plate is because, as you can see there, for the DVI port, I have the piece of metal that obstructs the out of the box configuration bracket. So I had to cut that bracket as well, as you see there on the left, the two pieces top and bottom. I had to cut them, and I had to move it around so that it fit properly according to my setup, my card. You may not have to cut that left bracket depending on your card, because like I said, vertically you have no issues, but it is horizontally where you have that bigger gap. So you may have to drill holes on your plate on the right side of the plate, if you get what I'm saying. And this is what the brackets look like out of the box. This is the out of the box configuration. That's where you need to cut right there, so that by the time you're done cutting, all you have is that right there. That's exactly what I have on the card. And like I said, I had to do both sides, left and right, because as you can see right there, see where that bracket bumps into that piece of metal there for the DVI port. So that didn't work out. So again, that's why I had to cut that both sides. But depending on your card, you may not have to cut. Again, you may not have to cut the left side bracket. And this cable here, you can actually find it on eBay for about 10 bucks. Actually pretty cheap. And you can hook up your PWM radiator fan directly to the card fan controller, or the fan, the card fan header there. So let's go ahead and clean this thing up and get it ready for reinstallation. And let me mention again, guys, that you may not have to cut the brackets at all, depending on your card configuration. You may just have to drill the holes where the brackets are located on your card. I had to cut these brackets because as you can tell there, everything's kind of cramped together. You have the VRMs closer to the die, and you have the DVI port there closer to the die as well. So both brackets had to be cut. But again, you may not have to do that depending on the type of graphics card that you get. If you get more space there between the VRMs and you know the capacitors, you may be able just to keep the brackets just as they are, and just have to drill the holes over the right side of the die on the plate itself. And one thing I do want to mention, guys, before I forget, is that even though vertically you have the same measurement for the cooler holes there on the PCB, you will run into the problem that because the die is bigger, you will see that when you set the plate on top of the board, you will see that the holes don't quite line up, or the actual center does not line up perfectly with the die itself. So you're gonna have to move the actual plate, the whole plate, and eyeball the center, right where the cooler goes. Eyeball the center right over the die, so that the cold plate is directly in the middle of the die itself, or close to being in the middle of the die when you put the cooler on it. And when you do that, when you have the plate lined up in the center where the die is, then that's where the plate will have to go. That's where you have to drill the holes on the plate for attaching the Kraken G12. So make sure you don't forget that. Make sure that when you are going to, if you are going to go ahead and go through with this, make sure that the first thing you do is set that bracket on top of that die and line up, eyeball the hole where the cooler goes, eyeball it and make sure that it is right in the center, and you have Vaseline or something on top of the little brackets if you have to cut them, so that they leave a mark on the plate and you know where you need to drill the holes. And let me just say that you don't have to use Vaseline. You can use whatever you have at hand that, you know, will leave a mark when you put the plate on top of the brackets. Just make sure that you screw on the brackets from the back before you put the plate on top. Once the little brackets are in place, you could put something, you know, right on the tips there, so that it leaves a mark when you put the plate on top of them, and that way you know exactly where you need to drill the holes. But anyway, here are the temperature results. This has been running for about 30 minutes now, and as you can tell, you know, I'm getting some pretty good temperatures here. I don't have the best core for overclocking here, the die for overclocking, but still I'm able to squeeze out another 100 megahertz out of this GPU. And the temperatures went down from 82 Celsius to 52, 53, 54 in that area there, depending on the time in the game. So quite a difference in not just sound, but also temperatures and performance. I get more steady frames per second, and it's just overall win-win situation here. So yeah, this has been my little mod. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. See you guys next time.